2 Samuel 14. Now Joab, son of Zeruiah, realized that the king longed to see Absalom. So Joab sent to Takcoan and brought from there a wise woman. He told her, "Pretend to be in mourning and put on garments for mourning. Don't anoint yourself with oil. Instead, act like a woman who has been mourning for the dead for some time. Go to the king and speak to him in the following fashion." Then Joab told her what to say. So the Takcoan woman went to the king. She bowed down with her face to the ground in deference to him and said, "Please help me, O king." The king replied to her, "What do you want?" She answered, "I am a widow. My husband is dead. Your servant has 2 sons. When 2 of them got into a fight in the field, there was no one present who could intervene. One of them struck the other and killed him. Now the entire family has risen up against your servant, saying, 'Turn over the one who struck down his brother, so that we can execute him and avenge the death of his brother, whom he killed. In so doing, we will also destroy the heir.' They want to extinguish my remaining coal, leaving no one on the face of the earth to carry on the name of my husband." Then the king told the woman, "Go to your home. I will give instructions concerning your situation." The Takcoan woman said to the king, "My lord the king, let any blame fall on me and on my house and my father, but let the king and his throne be innocent." The king said, "Bring me whoever speaks to you, and he won't bother you again." She replied, "In that case, let the king invoke the name of the Lord your God, so that the avenger of blood may not add to the killing. Then they will not destroy my son." He replied, "As surely as the Lord lives, not a single hair on your son's head will fall to the ground." Then the woman said, "Please permit your servant to speak to the Lord the king about another matter." He replied, "Tell me." The woman said, "Why have you devised something like this against God's people? When the king speaks in this fashion, he makes himself guilty, for the king has not brought back the one he has banished. Certainly, we must die and are like water spilled on the ground that cannot be gathered up. But God does not take away life. Instead, he devises ways for the banished to be restored. I have now come to speak to my lord the king about this matter, because the people have made me fearful. But your servant said, I will speak to the king. Perhaps the king will do what his female servant asks. Yes, the king may listen and deliver his female servant from the hand of the man who seeks to remove both me and my son from the inheritance God has given. So your servant said, may the word of my lord the king be my security, for my lord the king is like the angel of God when it comes to deciding between right and wrong. May the Lord your God be with us." Then the king replied to the woman, "Don't hide any information from me when I question you." The woman said, Let my lord the king speak." The king said, "Did Joab put you up to all this?" The woman answered, "As surely as you live, my lord the king, there is no deviation to the right or left from all that my lord the king has said. For your servant Joab gave me instructions. He put all these words in your servant's mouth. Your servant Joab did so as to change the situation. But my lord has wisdom like that of the angel of the Lord and knows everything that is happening in the land." Then the king said to Joab, "All right, I will do this. Go and bring back the young man Absalom." Then Joab bowed down with his face towards the ground and thanked the king. Joab said, "Today your servant knows that I have found favor in your sight, my lord the king, because the king has granted the request of your servant." So Joab went up and went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. But the king said, "Let him go over to his own house. He may not see my face." So Absalom went over to his own house. He did not see the king's face. Now, in all Israel, everyone acknowledged that there was no man as handsome as Absalom, for the soles of his feet to the top of his head. He was perfect in appearance. When he would shave his head at the end of every year, he used to shave his head for it grew too long, and he would shave it. He used to weigh the hair of his head at 3 pounds, according to the king's weight. Absalom had 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. She was a very attractive woman. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years without seeing the king's face. Then Absalom sent a messenger to Joab asking him to send him to the king, but Joab was not willing to come to him. So he sent a second messenger to him, but he still was not willing to come. So he said to his servant, "Look, Joab has a portion of a field adjacent to mine, and he has some barley there. Go and set it on fire." So Absalom's servant set Joab's portion of the field on fire. Then Joab got up and came to Absalom's house. So he said to him, "Why did your servant set my portion of the field on fire?" Absalom said to Joab, "Look, I sent a message to you saying, 'Come here so that I can send you to the king with a message.' Why have I come from Geshur? It would have been better for me if I were still there. Let me now see the face of the king. If if I am at fault, let him put me to death." So Joab went to the king and informed the king. The king summoned Absalom, and he came to the king. Absalom bowed down before the king with his face towards the ground, and the king kissed him. Yeah, the 3 pounds of hair. I've never weighed hair. So, I mean, occasionally I get a haircut, and I have some. I've never thought, maybe weigh the hair, see how much it weighs, but hair is light. So 3 pounds is going to be a lot of hair. So we're getting a foreshadowing here about Absalom, and his hair apparently is splendor. So I would say, just think Fabio, I guess, is what we should do. I guess I want to try and figure out why the detail was there. Well, the detail is telling us the voluptuous nature of how much hair he has. So that's part of what we have going on. So now Joab, the son of Zeruiah, realized that the king longed to see Absalom. So the king longs to see Absalom. So Joab is going to figure out a plot. So he sent to Takcoan and brought from there a wise woman. I don't know anything about Takcoan. I don't know why he's going to Takcoan. Apparently there's wise women there. He brings one of these wise women. He told her, pretend to be in mourning, put on it. So he brings a wise woman, but then he tells her what to do. He doesn't ask her for advice. He tells her what to do. So I'm wondering if there's something else in there. Let's go look at that a second. See what it is for the wise woman. I'm wondering if there's something else in there. Wise, cunning, subtle, shrewd, prudent. So it's all along those lines. But the shrewd part, crafty part, might have something to do with more of a play of someone who can act. Might be what's in mind here. The wise men thereof, the discreet, the wise. Yeah, so it's just, yeah. But I'm wondering, because of what he does, maybe the women of Takcoan are known for their acting skills being wise in the nature of carrying out something. Anyway, he brings her and tells her, don't anoint yourself with oil, act like a woman who's been mourning for the dead for some time. You are going to portray the king as a reflection to him. Kind of like Nathan did. So he knew the story of what Nathan had said and done and realized, I need to portray a reflection to you, king, so that you'll wake up. Seek the king in this fashion. Now we're not getting a he tells her. We just get a she goes and does it, and then he tells what we do. So we're not getting. Sometimes we get the here's what you're going to go tell to do, and then we have the go and tell everything that we already just read. So we're not getting a repetition here. So she went to the king. She bowed down. She comes up with the story about being a widow, her husband being dead, her 2 sons fighting. One killed the other, and one has fled, but the family wants to, or the people want to kill the one who's dead. So she's really laying this out of everything. And the king says to the woman, go to your home. I will give instructions concerning your situation. So I'll give instructions. No, nobody's going to get dead. We're going to have the inheritance. The inheritance won't be lost. My lord the king, let all the blame fall on me and on the house of my father, but let the king and his throne be innocent. The king is, bring to me whoever speaks to you, and he won't bother you again. So, let me bring the troublemaker to you. He's like, yeah, bring the troublemaker. I'll take the blood on it. You won't have to. She replied, in that case, let the king invoke the name of the Lord God, so that the avenger of blood may not add to the killing. So then they will not destroy my son. He replied, as surely as the Lord lives, not a single hair on your son's head will fall to the ground. So we've got to get rid of the avenger of blood so that your son is going to remain innocent. He's not going to die, and he can be brought back. So yes, that's what we have. The woman said, again, like, I love how let me ask more. Let me be persistent. Let me keep going. Please permit your servant to speak to the Lord the king about another matter. He replied, tell me. The woman said, why have you devised something like this against God's people? When the king speaks in this fashion, he makes himself guilty, for the king has not brought back the one he has banished. Now, the king wasn't shown to have banished Absalom. Absalom ran away, but by not bringing him back, he has in essence banished him. By not reaching out, he's the one that banished. I just want to take this and apply it elsewhere. If you're in a relationship with someone and the other person broke it off, you have an obligation, and I'm not saying right away, but you have an obligation when they won't reach out to them. They are sometimes not in the position to be able to reach out to make healing go. The person who's left often does not have a manner of which to return safely. They need you to reach out to them. I would also say sometimes you need to have, like Joab, an intervening party to set the motion going forward, because sometimes the person is longing to reach out to you, or the group is reaching along out to you, but they don't know how to act and they don't know how they'll be received, so they do nothing. And this is where we have a lot of broken relationships that are stuck in the middle because nobody acts. Okay. So the king speak in this fashion, he makes himself guilty. Certainly, we must die. Okay, anyway. But God does not take away life. Instead, he devises a way to banish for the banished to be restored. I love this phrase. God does not take away life. Instead, he devises a way for the banished to be restored. Like, think about this. Cain kills Abel. He banishes him. He wants to restore him. But Cain doesn't go in that direction. Instead, he goes in a different direction. This is the image of God in the Old Testament. He is the God who wants to restore the banished. I have now come to speak of the Lord the king about the matter, because the people have made me fearful. But your servant said, I will speak to the king. Therefore the king will do what his female servant says. Yes, the king may listen and deliver from the hand of the man who speaks to remove both my son and inheritance that God has given us. So your servant said, may the word of the Lord the king be my security, for the Lord the king is like the angel of God when it comes to deciding between right and wrong. May the Lord your God be with you. So there's a weird phrasing, that the king is like the angel of the Lord when it comes to deciding. Was the blood on the doorpost or not on the doorpost? Does he see the sign? Does he know? He knows what's in the heart. That kind of an image, which is not used very often. The king replies to the woman, don't hide any information when I question you. Let the Lord king speak. Okay, I'll do that. Did Joab put you all of this? Yes. Like the king sees right there, as sure as the king lives, there's no deviation to the right or left from all that the king the Lord knows. For your servant Joab gave me instructions. He put all the words in my mouth. Your servant Joab did this so to change the situation, but my Lord has wisdom like that of the angel of the Lord and knows everything that will happen in the land. So again, the phrase, like the angel of the Lord, he is the one who holds the power of life and death, and like the angel of the Lord, he knows everything, which is an interesting phrasing. That's not one we run across very often. Then the king says to Joab, Joab apparently is there when this is happening. All right, I will do this thing. Go and bring back the young man Absalom. Then Joab bowed with his face low to the ground. Today your servant knows that I found favor in your sight, my lord the king, because you've granted the request of your servant. So I knew you wanted this. I made the request for you so that you could do it. I found favor. I used this woman to trick you into doing it, but you saw through it, and you're going to let me do it anyway. So Joab goes to Geshur, and he brings Absalom back to Jerusalem. We're all supposed to anticipate restoration here. It doesn't happen. But the king said, let him go to his own house, but he may not see my face. So Absalom went over to his own house, but he didn't see the king's face. Wait a minute. I thought the whole premise was he longed to see his son Absalom. He did. But he won't do it. He still won't do it. Joab gave him a path forward. Joab is bringing about restoration. The king is like, well, I can bring him from the foreign land, but he can't come to me. So he's now there. Now all of Israel, everyone acknowledge that there was no man as handsome as Absalom. Now we're going to go about talking about Absalom, because now the story is going to shift to Absalom. It's shifting away from David. David is still prominent, but we're going to shift to Absalom for a minute. So he's so handsome. From the soles of his feet to the top of his head, he was perfect in appearance. So apparently, without blemish is what it says. Like Absalom, there was not a handsome man in all of Israel to boast exceedingly. Like, if you want to boast about our best-looking man, it's Absalom. The whole nation knows it's Absalom. When he would shave his head at the end of every year, he used to shave his head, for it grew too long, and he would shave it. He used to weigh out the hair on his head to 3 pounds. It grew too long. It was heavy upon him. Now, they're saying shave his head. I don't know if he's cutting all of his head off. Weighing the hair sounds a little obsessive. I don't know that he's the one doing the weighing of the hair, okay? It's the storyteller giving us that information, so doesn't actually mean they went and weighed it. He's just trying to give you a full picture of the volume of his hair. I want to go look, though, at the shave head part here. So, verse 26. He palled his hair. Okay, he palled his hair. Gala. Okay. Now, I don't know how short he's actually cutting it. I guess it does really go with the shaving. But I don't know if they fully used another word for a trim, a haircut. They probably could have just said he cut his hair at the end of it, but maybe the idea is that he really grew so fast, he cut it down shorter than mine, and he grew it all the way back. But anyway, like, he's gorgeous. He's got wavy flowing locks, which will be important later. So that's why we get this information now. It will be important later. Absalom had 3 sons and 1 daughter, whose name was Tamar. So he has children in honor of his sister Tamar. He names his daughter Tamar. She was a very attractive woman. I don't know if she's going to come back in the story again, but she's listed here. The LXX adds the words, and she became the wife of Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, and bore him Abiah. Oh, so we might have this in another place. They add that here to tell us why Tamar's coming in. So she's going to perhaps marry Rehoboam, the son of Solomon. Okay. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years without seeing the king's face. So 2 years he waits to do the deed. 3 years he's in exile. 2 years he's waiting again. So if we go with, since the incident with Amnon and Tamar, it's 7 years. It's a total waiting period of time that has happened. If we go from the time of exile before seeing the king's face, it's now 5 years. Torah. Maybe we should have restoration that should come about here. Restoration didn't come about. That's what Joab was going for. And still the king has not moved towards restoration. He went to some other medium place. Then Absalom sent a message to Joab to be sent to the king, but Joab was not willing to come to him. So he sent a second messenger. He was still not willing to come. So he says to his servant, hey, Joab owns a piece of field next door to mine. Go burn his barley down. So Absalom's sent servants to the field and burned down the portion. Then Joab showed up to Absalom and says, why did your servant set fire to my field? Like, I got to get something to get his attention. I'll burn his field. He'll show up. Like, Joab won't show up to Absalom now that he is in town. Like, he won't come in, but he finally does. He finds a way to set fire. A little bit of the setting fire. My brain is going to Samson. The hair, my brain is going to Samson. Maybe the telling of us the hair, and now the fire is we should have Samson in the back of our mind, and we should be thinking Samson's story doesn't end well. Maybe Absalom's story is not going to end well. Absalom said to Joab, look, I sent a messenger to you saying, come here. I want to send you to the king. Why have I come from Gesher? It would be better for me if I were still there. Let me now see the face of the king. If I am at fault, let him put me to death. So, like, being here is worse than being there. Okay? Like, I need to see the king. It needs to be a thing that happens. You need to make it happen. So Joab went to the king, informed him. The king summoned Absalom, and he came to the king. Absalom bowed down before the king with his face towards the ground and the king kissed him. So we finally have Absalom, finally 5 years later, getting to come see the king. 7 years from the incident that caused this path to go forward. The sword upon the house of David is still here. Is this going to last? Is true restoration going to be taking place? He's come before the king. He's doing the proper things. He's bowing down. The king has kissed him. The king has welcomed him. But is there true restoration? What is going to play out? We will have to wait and see when we get to the next chapter.